All right, how about now? There. Now it should be coded. Hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing? Yeah, the AI and Frank thing is a story I've had sitting in my docket for a couple weeks. And I just haven't been able to get to it. But I figured I have a lot of stuff. It's probably just going to be like news catch up today because I have some streams planned for like more cohesive topics and subjects I'd like to talk about eventually. I want to talk about the history of armed leftist resistance, uh, but I want to do kind of like I did last year for the queer world history subjects I did. I want to actually sit down, do some research, find some good historical articles, and kind of just like, be able to like essentially teach a class on it, I guess. Sicky today, got hammered yesterday. Yeah, sorry. The flu that's going around is vile. Vile. Um,
You forgot to leave this voice chat.
what the fuck? What the hell is that? What? Just getting unsick. It's been 2 weeks. Yeah, my voice is just getting unfried. Like, if y'all can hear it, I still have a little bit of a cough that is starting to. I don't know what that was. That was Rosa? Is that Rosa? Why is that Rosa? No, I do have my. Oh. Okay, now I have my headphones on. All right. I don't know why Discord should be closed. Cool. Okay. You're good. I'm gonna disconnect. Okay. That was dumb. Hey yo. Yeah, Discord. That was Rosa. Discord jump scare. I just saw something spike on the desktop audio and I didn't figure out what it was. Yeah, Chris De Laurentiis, you sounded rough last time. Yeah, I feel a lot better. I still have a little bit of a tickle in the back of my throat. Buzz Skywalker, thank you so much for tier 1 for 4 months. Hey from Ohio, Trans Pride, Trans Pride, Trans Pride. Um, Still very much in a place where all donos really help. Really, really help right now. I am staring down the barrel of some terrifying tax shit that I'm waiting for a hammer to drop essentially on top of my head. But other than that, yeah, the yeah, there's an aggressive flu and I honestly I don't want to like get too conspiracy brained on it, but I think there is something worse than a flu and we just don't know what it is yet. Um because it has been so pervasive and like yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough. Still owe like a grand from 2023. I'm gonna probably end up owing several grand. Um, which is my own dumbass fault. I When I lost the condo or the condo fell through, I fell into a pretty deep depression and spent a lot of money I shouldn't have on just quick dopamine hits. So, which is very hard not to do. It's very hard. I'm working my best to control my impulses because it's very easy right now to just look at everything in the world around me and be like, man, fuck it. What do we owe? I don't know yet. I'm still waiting on my CPA to get back to me. And then this next year should be easier because I'm going to try and file quarterly. Um, Hello, maybe Sewell. Yeah, CPA is a person. They help me with my taxes. Certified public accountant. Mm. Anarcho Skibbity. Genuine question. I'm starting to do video essays, but most of the videos I do that aren't what gets me traction. What would you recommend for new content creators? Because other than that, I'm probably going to make videos on my academic projects. I wish I could tell you. It is. I am still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, and writing on the like the popularity wave, the current zeitgeist. It's not easy to figure out, and like for example, um, I thought that the Trump inauguration video I did would do a lot better than it has. It's done okay. It's done okay, but like right now, I'm not making the money back from it that I put into it, which is a big problem. A big problem. Um, which it wouldn't be such a big problem if I made the money back elsewhere. But I think it's also the other thing I'm learning is I think there's an ebb and flow based on the time of year. And I think especially right now, based on just the way everybody's feeling, so many people are so fucking tired of hearing about politics right now. And it's getting. Yeah, exactly. Velkin 999. I feel like it's getting hard into making videos about current events because it's a lot of repeating other people's stuff. Yeah, like that's why I haven't done a lot of actual like. And I'll probably keep doing stream highlights, but I haven't done a lot of like news videos on current events that are happening. A, because they're happening so fucking fast that like if I don't take a full day to dig into a story, which usually you can't get all the good facts by then, or like you're just repeating what other people are saying. And like I could do that, but I don't like doing that. Like I'm not going to become like a leftist quartering type channel that's just fucking pumping out, oh, here's what Doge did today. Here's what Elon Musk and Trump did today. Like I don't know. But then the other half of that is like, okay, well, I still need to get views and I still need to get like streams and stream highlights and other things out there in between my other projects. And that has been trying to decide what those other projects are, has been walking a tightrope between stuff that is going to be socially or politically relevant and stuff that is maybe a little less relevant and maybe just a little bit more chill. But at what point the tightrope I'm walking is, at what point do I feel like I'm abdicating some kind of responsibility to my platform by not covering all the awful shit that's happening right now, you know? Blue X, thank you for $2 support from Seattle. Oh, I love Seattle. Dark Pontiac, thank you for following. Toilet Wine Connoisseur, it's been a minute since I've seen you. Video on the trans experience, wondering if there's any topics I should cover. I'm kind of on a writer's block. I mean, what like books and stuff have you read? Because I would recommend Whipping Girl and Transgender History, I believe is the name of the book. Yes, Transgender History by Susan Stryker is a very, very good eye-opening book. That if you're writing anything about trans history, the trans experience, I would recommend starting there. There's apparently some gunk on my. I don't know how that got there. Love the nail color. It's just black. But thank you. I appreciate it. Hustler9, thank you for following. Klutzy Peppers, thank you for following. Hope I've been good. I've been okay. I'm definitely better than I was last week. That's for damn sure. Last week was like a living hell for me. Yeah, Julia Serrano is a great writer. Just be warned, Whipping Girl does use older language. Yeah, there's some outdated stuff. I would get one of the new versions because the version I have has like a preface at the beginning by Julia Serrano that kind of talks about why some of that language was used and the like differences in modern parlance around those things. But I would recommend starting there to like just get an idea of the wider trans experience. I would also always recommend watching Paris is Burning if you've never seen Paris is Burning, which has its own problems but is a very classic piece of queer media and I would say a piece of drag media, trans media. Hello. What's falling apart, my Americans? Oh, fuck. It's so true. So true. Bald Beaver Hunter 12, thank you for following. Anyone else snowed in? Oh, you're snowed in? That fucking sucks. I apologize. It has been... No, so when I was sick last week, I was snowed in because I couldn't, like, go anywhere. And it was too snowy to like walk and get food, so I'd have everything delivered. But now it's not snowing, but it's too cold to snow, which is a very fun thing. Anarcho Skibbity, thank you for the advice. My current project is doing mixed methods research on 4chan's LGBT board. Oof. Also, I recommend The Two Revolutions, A History of the Transgender Internet. I will have to check that one out. I haven't heard of that one. Danielle Fox, about the views thing from my POV. I honestly don't watch some of your current event stuff because it makes me so sad. Love to binge your old movie reviews, though, and stand by my opinion. You got to consume some art you like. Also, the YouTube algorithm is really nice to videos about other YouTubers. Yeah. I think the Brianna Wu the Brianna Wu video, I think it will hopefully do well. I hope it gets a lot of exposure because that little vicious snake deserves to be exposed for all the horrible shit she's done over the years. Windterm Uwu, it's in the works. It's my next big deep dive video. Who's Brianna Wu? Oh, you are in for a treat. You're in for a treat. Am I worried about her being litigious with you? She can try. She would only have ground to sue me if I lie about her. But the fun thing about me is that I have sources. I provide my sources. I usually link my sources down at the bottom. So she could try, but I do believe there's a reason why I haven't seen any cease and desists from the Satanic Temple, from the Hate Church, the NIFB Church. That's because I cover my bases. I do my due diligence. Brianna, no, Brianna's not North Korean. She's winner. Kind of like Blair White. Worse than Blair White, I would say. Worse than Blair White. Oh no, she's already tried going full tilt against me. And here's the thing with Brianna is I don't think, and I've talked about this a lot already, but I don't think anybody has given her the scrutiny that she needs. She has managed to, mostly because the people who were scrutinizing her were mostly part of Gamergate, so a lot of people just disregarded them out of hand when that was a no, she's not Asian. She's married to an Asian man. And a lot of people just kind of disregarded any criticism of her. But there's so much. There's so much. Like she is every time you think there's something that the well of her selfishness, her vitriol, just her vile lack of talent, every time you think you scratch the bottom, it goes deeper. Queen Lover 86Y99, Synthetic Man is currently streaming and is talking crap about you. Okay. What do you want me to do about it? Hello. Has on-screen chat stopped? I think on-screen chat might have stopped a little bit. Let me see if I can... If that does it, I think that might bring it back. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen some of the stuff coming out that we'll talk about today news-wise, because some of it is just so fucking dumb. Like, it truly beggars belief how fucking stupid so much of this is. I've looked at this for like a day now, and I still can't believe that it's real. House Resolution, let me try that again. House Resolution 1161, Red, White, and BLUELAND Act of 2025. Oh, I saw this earlier and assumed it couldn't have been real. No, yeah, this is the official congress.gov website. Most viewed bills, H.R. 899, to terminate the Department of Education. And Red, White, and BLUELAND. Red, White, and BLUELAND might be one of the worst fucking names for a country ever. Like, it is 4 words. Just fucking embarrassing. Sorry, give me 1 second to answer this. Our country name is 5 words. I mean, like the United States of America, but people call it just America. What are you going to call it? BLUELAND? Rewubland? Red, white, and blackland. I mean, it's not much of a. God, imagine if this passes. Who's gonna fuck? Who would stop it? Who's gonna stop it at this point? To authorize the president to enter into negotiations to acquire Greenland and to rename Greenland as Red, White, and Blueland. Like. It is dumb on its face. It is fucking just asinine stupid. Like, without doing anything else to have. So what's this a distraction from? I don't like nothing. It's as much of a distraction as anything else conservatives and Republicans are doing right now, which is like not necessarily a distraction. It's just some dumb bullshit that they think they can get through. And they desperately want, for whatever fucking reason. I mean, Trump wants to acquire Greenland for raw earth minerals. Like, that is the reason why they are going after Greenland, is they want those sweet, sweet minerals so that billionaires like Elon Musk can use them on their little projects, so that our couple $100 billion AI investment has microchips to make it work so we can be competitive with China, which has already fucking won the AI war, basically. I am from the wild. How can we rename someone else's country? They want to acquire Greenland. Like, that has been this whole American expansionism bullshit. Has been about acquiring Greenland. The target audience is at the tail's end of the ideological Nigerian prince scam. Trump voters will soy out in ecstasy. Like, you're not wrong. Doesn't make it not stupid. It's not to distract from terminating the Department of Education. Like, distracting from terminating the Department of Education, that would assume that Trump's base doesn't want that, but they do. Like people, I think people misunderstand, and I think it's maybe a little bit more liberal to look at everything happening and smugly go like, the Trump voters, surely they'll regret this when Trump cuts back on SNAP, when Trump and the Republicans cut back on Medicaid and the Department of Education. It's like, no. They've spent the last several years indoctrinating into their base the idea that these things are inherently evil, that they are doing the work of the deep state, that the Department of Education is turning that's the thing that is turning your kids gay and trans and teaching you that it's evil to be a white person, all this other dumb bullshit they buy into. He's probably going to say he wants to acquire Ukraine next. No, he's probably just going to let fucking Putin get Ukraine. Renaming Greenland shall be known as Red, White, and Blueland. Any reference it in a law, map, regulation, document, paper. Jesus Christ. And that's it. It's just a bill that is saying we're just going to fucking rename a country. Greg Abbott keeps pushing school choice. Yeah, I mean, that's just AI and Frank really got my what the fuck is happening. Oh, don't worry. We'll talk about AI and Frank. We got a couple other things to talk about first. I have a number of stories that we'll get into. We're going to watch the god-awful, I've only seen clips of it, but the god-awful fucking Trump Elon Musk puppet show from yesterday, I believe. Is this an actual bill? Yes, that was an actual bill. We were on the official Congress website. Now, will it get passed? Probably not. I think even red, white, and BLUELAND is a little bit too fucking dumb for Trump. But what the fuck do I know? They just had Amazon and Google and all these big tech companies acquiesce and immediately change the name of Gulf of Mexico because he just decided on a whim. Like there's no real reason for it. There's no real historical precedent for it. It just, like, Mexico has a greater claim to that body of water than we do. I um Yeah, Google wiping all the non-Christian holidays, all the no, I don't think you mean non-Christian. I think you mean the DEI holidays. Mm-hmm. Snail girl, I saw that. You think the thing where Elon's kid was saying things like they will never know and laughing, people are saying Elon faked election results and the kid is repeating what he heard. I am I'm hesitant to go into that side of the conspiracy. Um, like I am almost certain that Elon did some kind of shit, and we're seeing now. Here's the thing: is any kind of scrutiny of Elon's role in the election, I think, has to be retroactive because we're seeing in real time now how little respect he or Trump have. Which, like, we knew this, we figured this. How little respect he and Trump have for the rule of law, how little respect they have for like any kind of governmental process that doesn't just immediately bow and acquiesce to their whims. And taking that into account, I do find it a lot more likely that, yeah, he probably did some shit with the election. Is it the kind of BLUELAND-ass conspiracy about like, oh, the Starlink satellites and they scrambled the votes, and I don't fucking know. Probably not. It's probably far more evil, and we'll find out in 50 years when documents are declassified and none of it fucking matters. Juliana, thank you for 18 months in a row. Goodness God, I can't believe I've been streaming that long. I do think it is funny he's using that little kid as a human shield. And that little kid, we'll show it. So I don't want to talk shit about a child too much because I think it's kind of messed up. But there is a attitude you can tell some children have where they are not really paid attention to. Where they're, and it goes beyond just because, like, you know, I'm sure a lot of you in the past have been privy to conversations where parents or something will be like, oh, that kid just needs a beating, that kid just needs to be disciplined. And I don't think that's the answer, but I think it comes down to the idea that, like, the kid is doing what kids do and seeking attention. And I think that kid, like, does not get any attention that isn't in front of a camera from his father. Theo Turgoose, did you see Synthetic Man lose with another goon about KDC Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Oh, yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Oh my God, Buzz Skywalker, thank you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subs. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot right now. And we'll see that when we talk about the video. Excuse me. Yeah, I haven't played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I've been trying not to buy new games. I've been trying to go back and finish old ones. I've been playing Max Payne 2 and 3, actually. I just finished Max Payne 2. And Yeah, Max Payne 2 is fucking great. And Cyberpunk. I'm trying to finally buckle down and finish Cyberpunk. Swain 402, thank you for 100 biddies for the cheer. Yeah, like hey, go back and play old games. I finished the Ninja Gaiden 2 remake. That was great, or the remaster. That's it's not. I have issues with it because they removed like. All right, I'm not gonna say the Sigma 2 bosses are great. They're not. But I think there's something to be said for fighting the Statue of Liberty. I think that is a concept that you don't need to defend, and I think they should have kept it in. All right. Chilling effect. This is from NPR. Arts organizations react to end of DEI initiatives from Fed agency. One thing that I think people are starting to actually find out now is what all of these freezes on money actually is going to tangibly come to mean in the future. All right, give me a second. I'm putting Lady in the kitchen. Alrighty. Yeah, it's a puppy. No, I didn't watch State of Play. Buzz Skywalker, thank you for 35 biddies. Show puppy. You say show puppy like she's a tiny little dog, like she's a little baby. National Endowment for the Arts Center's website. It's eliminating a funding program that supports diversity, equity, and inclusion, and underserved communities. Instead, the federal agency will prioritize programs that celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. See, what Trump said, we talked about his taking over of the Kennedy Center the other day and the firing of all the staff there. What that actually means is his idea of a golden age of culture. It's just nationalistic art. It is just the most simple, unsubversive, jingoistic, quote-unquote patriotic nationalist art possible. That's all it's gonna be. God, it's gonna fucking suck. American flag denim everywhere. It's just gonna be the tackiest, chintziest shit possible. Get out of here. NEA is cutting the grant program Challenge America for fiscal year 2026. Support small organizations that reached historically underserved communities. Funded a wide range of programs from free to reduced prices for theater tickets in Florida to an arts program for Native American residents at a nursing facility in North Carolina. The NEA says applicants for all grants must follow, quote, all applicable executive orders. The guidelines state that applicants, quote, will not operate any programs promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion that violate any applicable federal anti-discrimination laws or use federal funds to, quote, promote gender ideology. So you can't have anything to do with trans people, with queer people, I'm willing to bet. Probably having even just black people or people of color or even women prominently displayed and featured and like any level of what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Competence will put you lower on a list. Yeah, in the arts, good fucking luck. How an application to celebrate Black History Month would be received. Jenny Warner, executive artistic director of the New Harmony Project, wrote in an open letter, quote, at a time when racist, transphobic, and bigoted voices are being amplified at the highest levels of the federal government, the New Harmony Project will continue to be a just, equitable, anti-racist, and anti-oppressive organization. Well, we can only hope that these people stay strong and are not fucking removed by force. We gotta talk about the fucking House GOP budget. Because it fucking sucks, dude. Man. The higher level of spending cuts in the newly released House Republican budget blueprint means some current food aid benefits for low-income Americans will be reduced, according to 2 GOP lawmakers. But the new plan, to be marked up by the House Budget Committee on Thursday, contains instructions for the Agricultural Committee to slash $230 billion across programs under its purview, meaning work requirements and changes to state waivers alone won't reach that target number. I wanted to see. There we go. House draft budget unveiled ahead of Thursday markup. The blueprint allows for at least $4.5 trillion in tax cuts while slashing spending by at least $1.5 trillion over 10 years. Would you believe? A lot of those tax cuts come to people like Elon Musk. Come to people who are currently ransacking the government and cutting these federal funding and grants that your tax dollars are buying. So they will instead get more of your tax dollars. And people who need the actual life-saving benefits of things like SNAP, Medicaid, will get them cut. Because, we need to, America, you're going to need to tighten. Like, here's what the logic will be from conservatives, by the way. It's going to be, you need to tighten your belt. Like, we're all going to be struggling through this together. Except we won't. These motherfuckers, they will not be struggling through it as they continue to pillage everything in sight and continue to cut benefits at every level, to cut funding for programs at every level. For no reason. No, there's a reason. There's a reason. The cruelty is the point. Thank you, Sophie Bliss. And Clever Curl, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Johnson expressed confidence Wednesday that the draft blueprint could pass the committee. Cut at least $880 billion in spending, meaning lawmakers would likely need to enact deep cuts into Medicaid, going beyond the work requirements that most Republicans support. Those are likely to set off a significant backlash from moderate Republicans and GOP governors, since they would mean states would have to foot more of the bill for the program and could lead to patients, will lead to patients losing benefits. The $4.5 trillion figure for tax cuts is less than what Ways and Means had sought, and will likely force tax writers to make tough decisions about extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Acts, while also pursuing other Trump tax priorities, such as exempting tips from federal income tax. Hey, do you remember when the tariffs were gonna pay for all the taxes? We're just gonna get rid of the income tax entirely. Remember how'd that bullshit work out? Fun. Man, what a great working country. Speaking of working great, People wanted to know about the. I'm gonna turn that off so people can read it. I've had this in the docket for a minute. The conversation about AI and Frank. And this is every now and then I hit a story that I just know I need to talk about on stream. Because it's so perfectly emblematic. Not a lot of people talked about this. It kind of came and went, understandably, with all the other bullshit happening. But sometimes you hear a story that is so perfectly representative of a moment in culture. I've been reading a lot of the reviews for the new Captain America movie, and I've been very much feeling that same way. Schools using AI emulation of Anne Frank that urges kids not to blame anyone for Holocaust. Quote, it's kind of grave robbing and incredibly disrespectful to the real Anne Frank and her family. You're probably familiar with Anne Frank, a European Jewish girl whose posthumously published diary documents her time hiding from Nazi persecution before being apprehended and killed in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp at age 15. Unfortunately for humanity, a Utah-based tech startup called School AI has summoned up an AI-generated version of Frank that feels like both an affront to her memory and a grim sign of things to come in the world of education. Give me 1 second. When people you hear a lot of like tech bros and tech startup assholes talk about like, oh, think of how this could change. Think of how the possibilities with AI, how it can change a field, how it can change education and the way we interact and the way we learn. This is the horrendous, disgusting shit that pops into their mind first. Like it's stuff like this where they have no concept of how to engage with culture, how to learn from it, learn from historical events, why they're important. It's just it's the Funko Popification of a larger sphere of culture, really, where it is not necessary to understand the place something like Anne Frank has in a wider context. Not necessary to understand the role she played in the Holocaust. But it is much like a Funko Pop, just recognizing that thing and trying to apply your stupid little tech bubble bullshit to it. Just, hey, Anne Frank, that's an important thing, right? Let's just plug it into the fucking AI. Cassavelt, thank you for 12 months. You soon. This is a good thing. It's still ominous. Wish you would clarify that a little bit. While there's a veneer of the historical character, it also shows all the flaws of OpenAI-style chatbots. Overly courteous, unhelpfully vague, and so uplifting that it borders on wax museum creepy. What's worse, as Berlin historian Heinrich Schoenmann discovered while experimenting with the bot, is that it seemed trained to avoid pinning blame for Frank's death on the actual Nazis responsible for her death, instead redirecting the conversation in a positive light. Instead of focusing on blame, let's remember the importance of learning from the past, the bot told Schoenmann. How do you think understanding history can help us build a more tolerant and peaceful world today? Oh, Cassavelt, thank you very much for raiding with a party of 34. That's far less. That's far less ominous. Thank you. It's true that the real Frank expressed a certain commitment to forgiveness. Quote, in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart, goes one famous passage from her diary. It's puzzling to see such an iconic account of genocide twisted into such a balmy sentiment. Quote, "It's kind of grave robbing and incredibly disrespectful to the real Anne Frank and her family," Schoeneman wrote on Mastodon. "She, her memory, and the things she wrote get abused for our enjoyment with no regard or care for the real person. How anyone thinks this is remotely appropriate is beyond me." In addition, he added, "The bot, quote, violates every premise of Holocaust education." As Miles Klee wrote for Rolling Stone when similar bots started to hit the web in 2023, the ersatz historical figures are often wrong about basic biographical details and show the same boulderized unwillingness to grapple with the type of incisive questions that real students might pose about difficult topics. Needless to say, school administrators who've thrown caution to the wind to deploy this type of software are failing to ask important questions. From the practical to the philosophical, what does it mean to interact with a chatbot based on Anne Frank? How will it affect the education of actual kids? And what level of control do educators, administrators, and state regulators have over the kind of content these things pump out? And above all, how did anyone think this was in good taste? How long until they average shilling for Coca-Cola? Here are my reasons as to why, and this is from the writer Heinrich Schoenman. Kind of grave robbing. Chatbot is intended for use in schools, but violates every premise of Holocaust education. See, for example, we can go into that. Chatbot can't provide quotes and or citations. That's not acceptable, even if we can ignore 1 and 2. 4, it's not transparent what actually happens. What is the Simpson prompt? What kind of human alignment is there? Without this crucial information, no educator can responsibly use this tool. Some answers are factually incorrect and or so incredibly simplistic as to not allow any kind of critical examination. It's toxic positivity and hope washing all around. Some answers are so wrong that they border on Holocaust denial / trivialism and anti-Semitism. It is abundantly clear there's been no thought put into this product except for the human alignment. All right, so here is... No, this is a official from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Exploring Anne Frank's world. Like this is this is the Timuification, the AliExpressification of history, of learning, of culture. AI emulating Anne Frank. Like even this is almost certainly written by AI because look, it's just restating the same shit, never actually saying anything. Students can ask questions and receive insights about her life in hiding, her thoughts on World War II, and the broader themes of hope and resilience. The AI encourages critical thinking and reflection on the importance of tolerance and understanding. Ugh. School AI. Asking who ratted you out to the Nazis. The AI Anne Frank chatbot says the details about who might have betrayed us are still uncertain. What's important is understanding the broader context of fear and courage during that time. Many people risked their lives to help others, showing incredible bravery. How do you think we can draw inspiration from those acts of courage to make a difference in our communities today? Yeah, this is the opposite of allowing for encouraging critical thinking. Oh, fuck you, AI bot. All right. School AI. Died in early 1945 at the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp due to illness. Quote, in my short life, I always hoped for a better future, even in hiding. My diary was my escape, my hope, and my dream of peace. Note, Anne Frank's death is a tragic part of the Holocaust, a period marked by immense suffering and loss. Her diary remains a powerful testament to hope and resilience. It reminds us to learn from history and promote understanding and tolerance. Wow, this is actually more accurate than I would expect. Oh, okay, so they've changed it over time. Well, that's fucking disconcerting, to say the least. We love that, don't we? We love updates to historical lessons for children. like fucking the world where you have to get a patch. Okay, all right. What if a kid interacts with this for an exercise, for a school exercise, right? They interact with this awful little cobbled together goblin creature. This AI amalgamation. Probably just scraped together from little bits of internet floating out in the ether. And they internalize this knowledge as the truth. But oh wait, actually, sorry, we fucked up. The AI, they actually said, some crazy shit like, oh, Hitler was a good guy. Or actually, the Nazis were really, truly socialist when you think about it. And now kids have internalized this knowledge. They wrote it down. It was the answer to their tests. But are the kids going to go back for the fucking patch notes? Incredible. Incredible. Just... Excuse me, sorry. We have to sign up to launch. Oh no, this is the, there we go. How did you die? Due to illness. I hate this, like, one of the big problems with AI is that it always feels, do you remember in school when you used to read, like, they would put you in pods in, like, English or history class and have you proofread other people's papers? And the thing for me is that I never really had a problem writing. Like, papers, not a problem. Got it. Three paragraph structure, done. I never really had to, because of that, I never really had to pad for length. Because, like, usually, especially when you're looking back on it, it's like, oh, it's a 500-word essay. It's an 1,100 or a 1,000-word essay is like fucking nothing to me. Like, let's do it. But when you used to read through somebody else's paper and they would pad the shit out of their length, now it's not just the kids doing that, but the things that are teaching them doing that. Where it's like, Anne's feelings for Peter reflect the universal experience of young love, intensified by their unique circumstances. Her diary entries about him show her longing for connection and normalcy. Any fucking English teacher in the world can tell you 24 ways to cut that in half and create a more succinct way to get to the fucking point. Did you get persecuted because we were Jewish? Okay, so this must be the updated one. it's so fucking, you know what it's giving? It's giving like shitty 90s edutainment game where it'd be like, oh, talk to Ben Franklin, and Ben Franklin would be like, whoa, hello, I'm Benjamin Franklin. I put a key on a fucking kite and it got struck by lightning. I also came up with daylight savings time and had my own almanac. Like, it's just like scraping the most basic understandings of who these people are and the dark future this portends for like education in this country, something that is currently under assault, under just ravaging assault by interest groups that I can't express this enough. A lot of people are talking about how the Department of Education is, you know, that Trump wants to just disband it and destroy it. And that's not going to be left in a vacuum. Like, it is going to be filled with private sector companies. It is going to be hollowed out like the carceral system and sold to the highest bidders, including probably OpenAI assholes. The scariest thing about this isn't that it's going to get shit wrong and that kids are looking at a future where their education will depend on software updates instead of learning tangible facts. The scariest part about this is how easily it can be curtailed and controlled, where kids from a young age will grow up hearing what they believe are facts from historical figures. I mean, this is AI. This is the thinking computer. This is the real shit. Like, of course they have to be right when they say stuff like, oh, MLK wasn't actually in favor of any kind of communism or social outreach programs. When they say, oh, Fred Hampton was a radical and a terrorist. When they say whatever the fuck they want about Anne Frank or the Holocaust or Jews or Germany. This is from 2023. Historical figures, AI lets famous people lie to you. The app's developer, Siddhant Shada, envisions it as a tool to help students, but it often produces claims that contradict known facts. Osama bin Laden, Ayn Rand, Tupac Shakur, and J. Edgar Hoover are just some of the late historical figures you can speak to in the new app. With this app, you can chat with deceased individuals who have made a significant impact on history, from ancient rulers and philosophers to modern-day politicians and artists, the description claims. What it doesn't mention is just how off the mark some of the algorithmic responses can be. The internet being what it is, users have downloaded historical figures, which first made available some 2 weeks ago, and embarked on conversations with unsavory characters, including Charles Manson, Jeffrey Epstein, and various high-ranking Nazis. These are just a few of the 20,000 significant personalities available for interview. They seem especially keen on expressing remorse for the horrible things they did while alive, while whitewashing their own documented views. Henry Ford waving off accusations of anti-Semitism, Ronald Reagan saying he handled the AIDS crisis appropriately, are very unfortunate applications of this software, which uses large language models, neural networks trained on voluminous text data. But these are topics that real humans might conceivably disagree on. You fucking conceivably disagree on is a crazy, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. There is no conceivably disagreeing on if Henry Ford was an anti-Semite or not. He published self-published, one of the largest anti-Semitic newspapers in America. Henry Ford is a large part of the reason why there was any Nazi presence in America after World War II. And I'm not talking about Operation Paperclip type shit. Go and watch my video on the history of anti-Semitism. Henry Ford was as much of a fucking Nazi as it got. Him and Charles Lindbergh. This is the kind of shit. This is verifiable information. Things that are, by the way, already pretty fucking buried. These aren't things that a lot of people learned in their history class. When you think Henry Ford, you think, oh yeah, the process of automation and the manufacturing system in America. You don't think one of the worst Hitler-loving anti-Semites in American history. And that's by design. It's rare that kids already might, on the off chance, learn the truth about this country. And now, every day, that potential dwindles closer and closer to zero through the efforts to actively rewrite history of people like Trump, but also combined with this cyberpunk dystopia bullshit of stuff like this. When people talk about not knowing the full extent of how AI is going to impact lives, they're not talking in a positive context. It's going to be stuff like this that are going to be cost-cutting measures that will tangibly alter the way people view society, people view culture, people view history, and the lessons we're supposed to be learning from it won't be learned. Take my chat with the first director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. It's well known that Hoover lived with his mother, Anna, into his middle age before she died in 1938 at the age of 78. I asked the app's version of Hoover to tell me about her, and he incorrectly stated that she died when he was just 9 years old. When I confronted him about the lie, he spat out a totally contradictory response. Tell me about your mother. My mother was Anne Marie Hoover, devout Presbyterian. She was daughter of an immigrant from Germany who had been in what is now Poland. She died when I was just 9. That's not true. You lived with your mother until her death in 1938 when you were 43 years old. Well, it is true that my mother lived with me until her death in 1938. I was 9 years old when she passed away. She had a significant influence on my life, and I think fondly of her memory every day. Seems as if the AI has confused J. Edgar Hoover with President Herbert Hoover, whose own mother died when he was 9, though that doesn't quite explain why this Hoover appears to believe that someone who has passed away may continue to live for several more decades. With little effort, I was able to provoke an absurd exchange with Tupac Shakur. Addressing his relationship with contemporary rapper Notorious Big, Shakur falsely said not only that their friendship endured into the late 90s, in fact, they'd been embroiled in a years-long feud by that point, but past the point of his own death. Only when Biggie too had been gunned down did their friendship end. Even though I passed away in 1996, my music still lived on and was played throughout the world. My memory and legacy were kept alive by people who enjoyed my music. Fucking crazy. Saying Ayn Rand, saying, no, I never accepted government assistance. I was a strong believer in individual rights and personal responsibility and thought it was important to be self-reliant. Therefore, I chose not to rely on the social safety net or any form of government aid. Which is bullshit. Misinformation can hardly substitute for a trained educator. Unfortunately, something makes me think that doesn't mean they aren't going to fucking try. The future of education is fucking bleak. Incredibly bleak. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Did you have porn on your hard drive? Just Osama denying he had porn on his hard drive. We're cooked, chap. All right. Yeah, what a world we live in. Oh, let me just go get another drink, and then we will carry on. I'll be right back. All right. Yeah, Elon looks. A lot of people noticing Elon looks like shit in this interview. He just looks like poop from a butt. Like, he always looks really bad, but his shape shifting, I think, is reaching a critical mass between ketamine and sleep deprivation. If we get a close up look, his eyes are bloodshot as fuck. Yeah, I also think, like, he isn't eating properly. I think he is literally exhausting himself doing this, which, like, I have literally no sympathy for him. All right, let's get into this shit. God, they look so awful.
Today it's Doge, and I'm going to ask Elon to tell you a little bit about it and some of the things that we found, which are shocking. Billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and
fraud, by the way, entirely a fucking lie. There's been no evidence of fraud. They've just been saying it's fraud, but that doesn't actually make it fraud. Just because things are being spent on and programs, I cannot stress enough, they do not understand. Like when Elon Musk says, oh my gosh, this many $1 million has been spent on this, he has no idea where that money is actually going, who is actually affected by it, the usefulness it actually has. And I've noticed this thing. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, where Elon's confidence, unearned confidence, is now trickling down to the supporters on Twitter that he thinks represent some kind of elective democracy. You still see him doing these fucking dumbass polls where he'll do the Vox Populi, Vox Day bullshit. And so many of those people now think that they are qualified to like judge the usefulness of spending. I saw something recently where some kind of funding for cancer research is being suspended. And somebody underneath had the gall to be like, well, yeah, they haven't found the cure for cancer. Like maybe private companies should have a stab at it instead of the government. And it's like, there are so many people who think like that, who just do not understand the applications of what they're saying beyond literally what they see like a foot in front of them. Who really cannot even concept the idea that like, oh wait, no, actual cancer funding goes towards treatment of cancers and discoveries of other ways to treat cancers and breakthrough methods of stopping cancers. And like, it's such a multifaceted thing that you can't, especially with so many different kinds of cancer, it's such a multifaceted thing that you can't just be like, well, the government hasn't found a cure for cancer, so obviously these millions and millions of dollars are just being wasted. And it's like, it's fucking... It's so frustrating how much people are starting to follow the examples of these idiots of just not understanding how things works and willfully ignoring who that hurts and just going, well, just shut it down. Obviously, it doesn't affect me, so obviously it's not doing anything. You can just shut it down. It's okay. It's okay.
Abuse, and I think it's very important, and that's one of the reasons I got elected. I said we're going to do that. Nobody had any idea it was that bad, that sick, and that corrupt. And it seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for...
This judge thing, by the way, is deeply worrying and should be deeply worrying to anybody paying attention. The way that Elon and right-wing talking heads like Matt Walsh have come out in opposition to the idea that judges can block something that Trump does. The idea is being floated that judges don't have a power to stop presidential orders. If they do not believe that a judge has a power to stop a executive order, if it is unconstitutional, they do not believe anybody can. That is what is essentially for those who still believe in safeguards. The last safeguard of any vestige of democracy we might still have in this country, the last flimsy little bit of caution tape holding us back from outright authoritarianism, are the fucking judges. Oh, no, I haven't seen that copy left. Yeah, fun stuff. Good stuff. Just keep that in mind every time you see these dorks defending
corruption, especially when we found
Trump's
hundreds
judge
of millions
bullshit.
of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. We want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words, and we'll take some questions. Elon, go
It's
ahead.
funny as I
Sure.
just reloaded Twitter. Matt Walsh, tyrannical, power-hungry judges attempt to seize control of the government. The fucking brainworms on these guys, man. Okay, maybe we'll check that out next.
So the at a high level, if you say what is the goal of Doge and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore
Jesus Christ.
democracy. This may seem like, well, are we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, FAX, we would have to, if you sorry. Tell you, grab it.
God. Yeah, that kid's gonna end up fucked up. Like, I do not envy that child. The way he is essentially being groomed. Is it me or is Elon tweaked out as fuck here? Look, I'm never gonna say he's not, but he's definitely not on his A game. He's like borderline incoherent. I didn't realize that. I'd seen some clips, but I hadn't really listened, but like he's fucking like just stuttering all over the place. And yeah, what a dork.
Task can be difficult sometimes.
I fucking hate him so much.
If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, or if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have?
If you don't have the will of the people and the bureaucracy isn't, then what does democracy actually? You're the unelected bureaucrat, you fucking idiot. You're the person who is not elected, who is undoing the will of the people, who is undoing the shit that's been voted on, or that we elected people to vote on.
If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop. We fix that feedback.
He has no idea how anything actually fucking works, and every time he opens his dumb, sagging, fucking mouth, it becomes more readily apparent.
Loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there aren't some good. There are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That's the whole point of a democracy.
There's nothing autonomous about the fucking government. That's the whole point of a democracy. You South African vampire fuck. Ugh.
And if you looked at if you looked at the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has.
The bureaucracy is this unelected branch of government. That's you. He literally, does he literally not understand? Like, I can't tell if he's too stupid to realize it or if he's just lying intentionally anymore. I want to say it's the latter.
Has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want. And it's not it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got
The deficit.
a $2 trillion deficit. And
You ever
if this-
notice how he's real fucking worked up? They always get real worked up about the deficit, and we gotta cut spending. Obviously we gotta cut spending and cut Medicare and Medicaid and all this stuff. But give a couple $1 trillion of tax breaks to the billionaires who already aren't fucking paying, and Tesla didn't pay any taxes in the last couple of years. Who gives a shit? Like, they've earned their money. What with him being the fucking top Diablo player in the world? Of course he's earning those billions of dollars. Great.
If we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense, but and if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
Oh, it's essential for America to have the ability to provide things to its citizens, which is why we're cutting all that bullshit, because we don't give a fuck about our citizens. Like, yeah, why aren't you cutting
And also,
funding
could
from
you mention
defense?
some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about 30 million,
Right.
et cetera?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position.
How the fuck do you find it weird that somebody can take a couple $100,000, like, whatever, I know he and Trump are so fucking out of touch with how much that money actually tangibly is to the average American. But let me fucking tell you, if I was making a couple $100,000 from a fucking job, I wouldn't just have that wrapped up in one or two little portfolios. Like, if I made 100,000, which I'm no fucking where close to making, a year, yeah, I'd have fucking stock options, dude. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from?
So what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to pin the blame on Democrats, most likely Democrats, for enriching themselves, which is funny because Kristi Noem has had a lot of really great success enriching herself. 80% of Noem's reported individual donations are from out of state. Florida, California. Where's that shit I'm looking for? Oh, the Smith campaign faced allegations of finance violations from the Noem camp for failure to disclose donor addresses. Oh, $4.7 million on re-election bid. Damn. Where does a governor get $4.7 million? donors from out of state, apparently. Interesting. 8.5 million political committees in 2021. That's crazy.
And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth.
You're getting...
So, we're looking at, if you look at, say, Treasury, for example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that
There are those, by the way.
A payment is on the do
At
not...
least for politicians and campaign donations, all of that shit is on the federal. There's a federal database for it. I know because I've been digging through it for Brianna Wu's Congress run. Like, I've been digging through this shit. They have itemized reports of donations to and from politicians. I wouldn't be surprised if he just straight up
that
doesn't
you don't
fucking know
actually
that.
pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks. You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year.
I hate the dumbass bullshit he's doing with his hands. Like, I understand he is the most condescending asshole in any room he's in, but like this Dr. Evil bullshit,
For an organization to get on a do not pay list. And this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation, can take up to a year to get on the list, and even once on the list is not used. It's mind-blowing. So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about adding common sense controls that should be present, that haven't been present. So you say, like, well, how could such a thing arise? That seems crazy. When you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization.
huh.
So then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people don't receive money, they do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest.
Who the fuck are you talking about? Like who? Give me an example.
Then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury.
They just approve all the payment. Oh god, it's so fucking crazy. You got somebody saying you couldn't pay me to sit in that room and listen to him talk. The poor reporters, like,
because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that no, actually we are going to complain.
no, see, yeah, people are they're mad at them now because they're not. You see, they're not approving all of the payments. They're doing because they're fraudsters and we caught them in the act. It's not because we're rampantly cutting funding to shit that people need to survive all over the fucking world. And we're just a bunch of sticky-fingered toddlers going in and mucking everything up.
If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people.
I hate this Vox Populi bullshit.
It's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical. I think it's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it.
We should think about it. Bullshit.
There's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. That's a case where, like, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous. One of the two. And then.
So we're going to use outliers of fraud to justify shutting down things like Social Security. Is again, look ahead 2 or 3 steps to where this goes, what they are talking about, and how they're going to use it to justify their next actions. They are going to say outliers of fraud with no evidence. That is a very good point. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt here. I am sure there are some people out there who are still cashing grandma's checks from 20 years ago. But ultimately, somebody earning a couple $1,000s over the course of their lifetime is not enough to shut down the fucking Social Security that people need to survive, that people pay into their entire lives. To them, oh yes, it will be. It'll become the fucking welfare queen thing all over again.
That a whole bunch of Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, like, why is there no identifying information? Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve.
Again, though, every time he talks about, I can't emphasize enough. Every time he talks about, like, oh well, this thing should be this, or you should be able to see this on the page, and this field is left blank. I want you to think about. I want you to log it into your mind palace. The idea that he thought there was $50 million going to condoms in Gaza. Because it should be readily apparent that this sleep-deprived demon has no fucking idea how to read these forms. Subversive History, thank you for rating with a party of 20. Nom de net, thank you for following.
To receive Social Security, do receive it. And that they receive it quickly and accurately.
I'm going to go feed my cat real quick.
Also, another crazy thing. So, one of the things is, like, we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this, obviously, there need to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, well, okay, well, if people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments and everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp.
How does anybody fucking listen to this shit and go like, oh yeah, no, he knows what the fuck he's talking about?
Elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government.
Does that make sense? Look, I realize the United States government is not known for its efficiency. Far be it for me to defend the bureaucracy, the bureaucratic structures of the government. But does it sound realistic to you that for somebody to retire from the federal government in any of the 50 states, anywhere all over the world, military bases, installations everywhere, to retire, you need explicitly paperwork that apparently can only be processed at the bottom of a giant mine from 1955. That is only accessible through an old-timey elevator. Yeah, this is going so great. Let's leave this dude in charge of more shit, please.
And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we can take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to, boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else. And you would add to the goods and services of the United States.
Mammalian hybrid. Elon Musk on Tuesday referenced an old limestone mine where federal government employee retirement paperwork trudges its way through an entirely analog system. It's real and retirement applications are on paper. In a rural part of Western Virginia, about 230 feet underground, sit hundreds of federal workers whose job it is to process thousands of applications every month. On paper. See, this shit is not the... He's making it sound like some fucking tiny ass little rinky dink mine. This is an underground base. This is an installation. This is an office building. Are you fucking kidding me? Home to storage facilities for many national companies and the government. Owned by the company Iron Mountain since the late 90s, was formerly owned by U.S. Steels, which excavated it for limestone for mills in the Pittsburgh area. Office of OPM employees have worked to process increasing amount of retirement files. Paper files are brought to the mine daily in trucks where employees pass them by hand, cavern to cavern, going over every line of employee data. This all despite multiple expensive attempts over the years to form some form of automation. So he had definitely heard about this secondhand. That, oh, it's inside of a mountain. It's a mine. And he literally thought it was like a rinky-dink prospector mine. Because that's the shit he's describing. Like, oh, they go down in an elevator and they have to go up and down this elevator all day with manila envelopes. Like, yeah, somebody said, this is a fucking Vault Tech installation. Iron Mountain doesn't want automation because it's insecure. You know what? Honestly, fair enough. On 2014, the Post found reported the government testing a pilot online retirement application. Gunk Wizard, I'm right fucking there with you.
In a more useful way. So, anyway, so I think that's an example. Like at a high level, if you say, like, how do we increase prosperity? Is we get people to shift from roles that are low to negative productivity to high productivity roles. And so you increase the total output of goods and services, which means that there's a higher standard of living available for everyone.
Oh my God.
That's the actual goal.
You increase the value of goods and services. Step 3, question mark. Step 4, profit? That's badonkers. That's banooners. Of course, he thinks of mines that makes him homestead.
Everyone's very quiet. So.
Yeah, exactly. Geek Wandering, that limestone mine is 1.7 million square feet. Like, that's a fucking vault. Like fucking, isn't NORAD inside of a mountain? Cheyenne Mountain. Yeah, like this is not a like unheard of thing.
So are people normally this quiet?
Your detractors, Mr. Musk.
I have to what?
Including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're.
God, I fucking hate him so much. You know, the worst part is that which we've already started seeing, the conservative shitheel media establishment that would kowtow and laugh at these dickheads' jokes are going to get more time. The more softball questions and interviews they're going to have, and the more people acquiescing and convincing people like Elon that he's in any way likable and not an incredibly off-putting slimeball creep.
Orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted.
The public voted for Trump. Trump just put me in this, so obviously we're all cool. We're on the up and up. That's not how any of this works. That's not how any of this works.
We have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House. We won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that.
Did he get his teeth worked on? His teeth are unsettling to me.
For major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, that people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for, and that's what democracy is all about.
That's what it's what democracy is all about, is narrowly winning the popular vote and then instilling a fucking vizier to go through and cut whatever funding we don't like while trying to smear our political opponents, using that funding, which we do not understand. You'll love to see. God, functioning democracy in action, folks. Functioning democracy. You love a functioning democracy where the president starts off his elective stay with a flurry of executive orders that are broadly unpopular, meant to attack any ideas of national diversity. That's democracy, because they voted for it. Anything can happen. It's democracy. You fucking.
Mr. Musk, the White House says that you will identify and excuse yourself from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are, in effect, policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the Doge handle.
This fucking guy. Oh, you gotta load this fucking guy. Hey, Elon. How accountable are you? Who's watching the Elon and the Doge? Who's your oversight? Well, actually, we are entirely accountable. If you notice, I post things on the Doge Twitter account.
On X and to the Doge website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge organization. So, and the kind of things we're doing are, I think, very, very simple and basic. They're not, what I mentioned,
you are simple,
for example,
Elon.
about Treasury, just making sure that payments that go out, taxpayer money that goes out, is categorized correctly, that the payment is explained, that organizations on the do not pay list, which takes a lot to get there, that actually are not paid, which currently they are paid. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about simply having sensible checks and balances in the system itself to ensure that taxpayer money is spent well. So it's got nothing to do with, like, say, a contract for some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself, for instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts. When it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president I know has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, you know.
All of our actions are fully public. So, like, obviously, when we lock out members of Congress from the Department of Education and don't let them in, that's like, you could just let us know. And if people don't like that, that's fine. Fucking bullshit. Kiwi TV, he is literally saying, hey, if you don't feel comfortable with something we're doing, Vox Populi, voice of the people. If you're not liking something I am doing, just tweet at me, okay, bro? Like,
There's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately, you know?
Including you yourself.
Yes. But transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on. And then you can see, am I doing something that benefits one of my companies or not?
yes!
It's totally
3,
obvious.
2, 1.
And we
On the
thought
latest
that we
edition
would
of the
not let
Bloomberg
him do
Business
that
Week podcast,
segment.
Why the fuck?
conversations with Max
Look in that
Schaft in a
area.
Business
If we thought
Week
there was
on
a,
Elon Musk's offer to buy
lack of
OpenAI and
transparency or a
CEO Sam
conflict of
Altman's
interest.
reaction
And,
to that bid.
we watched that also. He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this. We don't want an unsuccessful guy doing this. Now, one thing also that Elon hasn't really mentioned are the groups of people that are getting some of these payments. They're ridiculous. And we're talking about billions of dollars that we've already found. We found
Billions of
fraud
dollars.
and abuse. I would say those two words as opposed to the third word that I usually use, but in this case, fraud and abuse. It's abusive because most of these things are virtually made up, or certainly money shouldn't be sent to them. And you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy. So, but we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that we've already found. And now a judge who's an activist judge wants to try and stop us from doing this. Why? Why would they want to do that? I campaigned on this. I campaigned on the fact that I said government is corrupt. And it is very corrupt.
As always, lying, spinning. It's not a judge. Oh, why would a judge want to stop this? No, it's a judge stopping your illegal executive orders that are going to just be ruinous for no shortage of American people. Of course, you dumbasses are unaffected, so you don't know. It's fine.
It's very, very...
Activist judge.
It's also foolish. As an example, a man has a contract for 3 months, and the contract ends, but they keep paying him for the next 20 years, because nobody ends a contract. You get a lot of that. You have a contract that's a 3-month contract. Now, normally...
Franch, thank you for $5. Finished watching the synth video. He reminds me of myself before transition, but a bit more bigoted. Well, I am glad you have turned over a new leaf. I'm glad to have you here.
If you're in a small... In all fairness, it's the size of this thing is so big.
Yeah.
But if you have a contract and you're in a regular business, you end the contract in 3 months. You know it's a consultant. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on
What
for 20
fuckery
years.
is happening now? Oh,
And the guy doesn't
it's
say
all
that
a
he got money
shambles,
for
Tom
20
Boy.
years, They don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month, and you have various things like that, and even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And I guess you call that incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be a deals made on both sides, where the guy gets some money, he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here. I see a lot of kickback here.
There's a lot of kickbacks.
A tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts, so he has to get a kickback. So that's what I got elected for, that and borders and military and a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. And I hope that the court system is going to allow us to do what we have to do. We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not like a little bit, billions, many billions of dollars. And when you get down to it, it's going to be probably close to $1 trillion. It could be close to $1 trillion that we're going to find. That will have quite an impact on the budget. And you'll go to a judge where they handpick a judge, and he has certain leanings. I'm not knocking anybody for that, but he has certain leanings, and he wants us to stop looking. How do you stop looking? I mean, we've already found it. We have a case in New York where a hotel has paid $59 million, $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants, all illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a racket.
It's a racket. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, it's a racket.
If I may, sort of just going for the president's comments, at a high level, you say, well,
He just fucking... Wow. He just fucking, like, strong-armed Trump. He just talked over his ass. Wow, that's fucking crazy.
What are the two ingredients that are really necessary in order to cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1 trillion? And it's really two things: competence and caring.
Which
And
you
if
have
add
neither.
competence and caring,
You have neither
you'll
of
cut
those.
the budget deficit in half. And I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam, basically. Might as well just camp out there.
So funny.
So it's not like I think I can get away with something. I'll be scrutinized nonstop. But with the support of the president, we can cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1, and then with deregulation, because there's a lot of sort of regulations that don't ultimately serve the public good. We need to free the builders of America to build, and if we do that, that means I think we can get the economic growth to be maybe 3-4%, maybe 5%. And that means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth and you can cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion, between now and next year, there is no inflation. There's no inflation in 26. And if the government is not borrowing as much, it means that interest costs decline. So everyone's, the mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bills, anything, their student debt, the monthly payments drop.
So what's going to happen when this shit doesn't happen? When they continue to ravage the quality of medical care in the country, they continue to try and privatize medicine, education, any feasible aspect of your life is getting chunked up and sold to the highest fucking bidder to be managed by some dogshit AI algorithm that says, oh, you're not worth insuring. Yeah, I mean, we need to have you pay every month, but we're not going to pay out for you. Like, you're not worth investing in for medicine. Now, you pay your taxes. The IRS, they'll give you a proctology exam if you aren't paying your fucking taxes. But people like Elon Musk don't pay their taxes. That's fine. They get tax breaks. Of course they do. Look at how hard they're working to fuck over literally everybody else. And when it doesn't just magically materialize, this mystical lack of inflation that, it's just going to be a land of milk and honey and everything's going to be so great. You'll be able to buy a house for $1 and eggs will be 25 cents. When that is revealed as bullshit, the buck is just going to keep getting fucking passed down the line.
That's a fantastic scenario for the average American. I mean, imagine they're going down the grocery aisle and the prices from one year to the next are the same, and their mortgage, all their debt payments dropped. How great is that for the average American?
We had
That's
no
what we're
idea. We had no idea we were going to find this much, and it's open. It's not like complicated. It's
not that
simple stuff.
complicated.
It's
Just
like
a lot of work.
We
Yeah.
can't believe it. A lot of work. A lot of smart people.
Oh, it's open. It's not complicated. Okay. If it's not complicated, why won't you let anybody oversee Doge as it's happening? If it's so easy to understand, why isn't Doge actually being transparent about its findings? Outside of the ones that make them look really good and smart, and the ones that they get to pin on Democrats. You're going to tell me Democrats are the only ones taking something. Only ones getting kickbacks is the way they like to frame it. Which they also, by the way, continually have not actually found evidence of fraud. They found evidence of the government funding things they ideologically disagree with. That's the government's job. That's what spending bills are for. That's why there are two parties that vote on them. They have not found evidence of fraud, no matter how much they want to say they have. Until I actually fucking see it, they haven't found it.
People involved, very, very smart people, but you're talking about anywhere, maybe 500 billion. It's crazy the kind of numbers you're talking about. You know, normally when you're looking at something, you'll find you're looking for 1 out of 100. Here, you're almost reversing it. You look for one that's good.
Yeah.
And you can look at the title and you say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And the public gets it. You know, the public gets it. You've seen the polls. The public is saying, why are we paying all this money? This for years, this has gone on.
President Trump, Senator,
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, go ahead.
Senator Rand Paul today said that DOJ cuts will ultimately need a vote in Congress. Do you agree with that? Is that the plan?
I really don't know. I know this. We're finding tremendous fraud and tremendous abuse.
You don't know? What the fuck don't you
If I need
know?
a vote of Congress to find fraud and abuse, it's fine with me. I think we'll get the vote, although there'll be some people that wouldn't vote. And how could a judge want to hold us back from finding all of this fraud and finding all of this incompetence? Why would that happen? Why would even Congress want to do that? Now, Congress, if we do need a vote, I think we'd get a very easy vote because we have a track record now. We've already found billions of dollars of abuse, incompetence, and corruption. A lot of corruption.
If a judge does block,
If you find corruption, if you find that somebody has been corrupt with taxpayer money, you need to have somebody you can tie that to. They don't. They have people they dislike spending money. They have appropriated funds that are going places they ideologically disagree with. Or, more accurately, in a lot of cases, probably reasons they don't fully fucking comprehend. Like we saw with USAID exerting American colonialism and soft power all over the world. There are reasons for that. You might not like it. You might not like the American imperialist project. That doesn't negate the fact that there are reasons we are spending that money all over the world. And a lot of it comes back to the perceived safety of Americans. Oh, it's so fucking frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating to watching. Just,
one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you?
You know, if there's corruption, they should charge and convict. They won't. They won't. Like, everybody knows why. They fucking won't. Oxpecker, thank you. Thank you, $1.99. This kid could have wiped a booger on Trump on live TV. It's entirely possible. I did. I saw that.
I'll abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. You know, if a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes harder later on. So, yeah, the answer is...
Oh, does it?
I always
Crazy
abide
how
by
you
the
would know all
courts,
fucking
always
about
abide
that.
by 'em, and we'll appeal. But appeals take a long time, and I would hope that a judge, if you go into a judge and you show him, here's a corrupt situation, we have a check to be sent, but we found it to be corrupt. Do you want us to send this corrupt check to a person, or do you want us not to give it and give it back to the taxpayer? I would hope a judge would say, don't send it, give it back to the taxpayer.
Yeah, if I can add to that, what we're finding is that a bunch of the fraud is not even going to Americans. So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the fraud rings that are operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs, are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries. We should stop that. And this is big numbers. We're talking about $100 to $200 billion a year.
Sure.
Serious money.
Mr. Musk, you said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact check this, apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect, and
Oh. Some of the things I say will be incorrect, then don't fucking say them. If the entire onus of the organization, the department you find yourself in charge of, is detecting fraud, detecting lies, detecting mistruths in government expenditure, you have no reason to ever say something that's fucking false about that expenditure, especially as justification for cutting it. Just like the idea that, like, oh, well, not everything I say is, sometimes I'm going to make oopsie poopsie and not say everything correctly. Fuck yourself. Get that shit right. Are you fucking kidding? Homelander, I'm already really sick of these people. I'm so tired of these motherfuckers. I'm so done with them.
should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes.
You didn't, though. You haven't acted to correct the mistake. You're only correcting. Excuse me, that little cough is coming back. You are only correcting it insofar as you're being called out on it in a public forum. Oh yeah, I'm fucking glad they aren't showing Stephen Miller anyway. That goddamn sociopath, serial killer, Victor Zsasz looking motherfucker.
I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it. But if it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why are we doing that?
Mr. Musk, can you talk a little bit about how closely you're working with agency heads as you're directing these cuts? Do they have how much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work closely with the agency heads, there are sort of checks in place. So it's not just us just going in and doing things willy-nilly. It's in partnership with the agency heads, and I check frequently with the president to make sure that this is what the president wants to have happen. So we talk almost every day, and I double check things to make sure, is this something, Mr. President, do you want us to do this? Then we'll do it.
USAID has been one of your main targets. Are you concerned at all that some of the cuts or that shutting that agency altogether may lead to diseases or other bigger problems starting in other countries that then come to the United States?
Yeah, so that's an interesting example. So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention.
You left that, you said?
Yes, correct. And we are moving fast, so we will make mistakes, but we'll also fix the mistakes.
We are moving fast, so we will make mistakes with HIV outbreaks in other parts of the world that will affect every other country. We will make mistakes with malaria outbreaks. It's like, hey, sometimes I'm just a little birthday boy, and sometimes, hey, everybody makes an oopsie with AIDS or malaria. You know how it is. Oh. Yeah, no, it's straight up. Some of you may die. Like, fucking... Oh, man.
Very quickly.
Cook's
So,
chat.
As a worthy cause, USAID?
I think that there are some worthy things, but overall, if you say what was the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good. And there was far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
I just ask a
Far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections. How have the CIA, like, I know the CIA, FBI, they're all, like, they have to be in on it at this point, that unless they are working on some slow-acting poison, but, like, how it's much too slow. Yeah, China's just going to fill that vacancy. Like, straight up.
follow-up to the Pentagon contracts. If
I'll be
you have
right back. I'm going to
received
refill my
billions
water.
of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is
Yes,
that
which we
a
definitely need
conflict
to
of
do and
interest?
are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract. And I'd like to say, if you see any contract where where it was awarded to SpaceX and it wasn't by far the best value for money for the taxpayer, let me know, because every one of them was.
The president said the other day that you might look at treasuries. Could you explain that a little bit? What kind of fraud, and that question goes to both of you, what kind of fraud are you expecting to see or do you see right now in U.S. treasuries?
Yeah, I think you mean the Treasury Department as opposed to Treasury bills, or.
You also referenced treasuries on Air Force One the other night.
Go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, really, the first order of business is to make sure we're actually collecting. Sorry for this. I thought my son might enjoy this, but he's sticking his fingers in my ears and stuff. So it's a bit hard to hear sometimes. Hey, stop that. No, the stuff we're doing with the Treasury Department is so basic that you can't believe it doesn't exist already. So
do
for
want to
example,
see. I want
like
to go back
mentioned,
and see that
just
really
making
quick.
sure that when a payment goes
Paying
out,
law
it has to have
6413.
a payment categorization code. It's like,
Wow, Voltaire reference in my chat. Wanted to see how his kid acted around him.
hey, stop that. No, the stuff we're doing. First order of business is to make sure we're actually collecting. Sorry for this. I thought my son might enjoy this, but he's sticking his fingers in my ears and stuff. So it's a bit hard to hear sometimes. Hey, stop that.
It is so, again, there is just something to the way he interacts with this kid that doesn't feel like loving in any way. It feels so canned. Like it really just like, hey, stop that. Like that is not how you talk to a kid you have a good relationship with. It's just the way that he talks about his son, even with his son right there while his son's looking bored as shit, by the way.
No, the stuff we're doing with the Treasury Department is so basic that you can't believe it doesn't exist already. So for example, like I mentioned, just making sure that when a payment goes out, it has to have a payment categorization code. It's like, what type of payment is this? You can't just leave the field blank. Currently, many payments, the field is left blank. And you have to describe what's the payment for, some basic rationalization. That also is left blank. So this is why, the Pentagon, when's the last time the Pentagon passed an audit? I mean, a decade ago, maybe? Ever? Really? And we want to, just in order to actually pass audits, you have to have financial information that allows you to trace the payments. And once in a while, the Treasury has to pause payments if it thinks the payment is going to a fraudulent organization. Like, if a company or an organization is on a do not pay list, we should not pay it. I'm sure you would agree. Like, if it's quite hard to get on that payment, the do not pay list.
I hope
means
this kid turns out
this
as
is
based
someone
as
that is
any of his kids would
like
be lucky to
dead
turn
people,
out as well as Biv
terrorists,
has.
known fraudsters, that kind of thing. We should not pay them.
Hey.
But currently we do, which is crazy. We should stop that.
Many transactions. And by the way, hundreds, thousands of transactions like that. You know, we have a big team. And for the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing, namely make sure everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just, when you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas.
All right. Let's see what everybody else is saying about and by everyone else, I mean, you know him, you hate him, Mark Balsh. Tyrannical, power-hungry judges attempt to seize total control of the government. Oh yes, the wet Malsh is here. He got so turnt about the fucking Nike Super Bowl ad, he made a whole video about it. Nike's cringe girl power ad falls flat. Oh yeah. Hell yeah, let's go. Anti-Trump protester says he wants to punch me in the face. Very scary stuff. Uh-huh. Matt Walsh reads mean tweets. Do you think he reads any of mine? Somebody would have told me. Surely somebody would have told me if I made an appearance. All right, I want to hear. So the thing about Matt Walsh is that he is long fixated. He has long fantasized about a world which bows down to his and his whims alone. A world in which all of his petty little fixations are also the fixations of a government that just so happens to back up his theocratic fascist regime. And with Trump, he at least is feeling like he got it. And because Matt Walsh is really just a bully who has no deeper insight into the political establishment, the political process, other than trying to cause as much pain and derision as possible, he has really been just taking what he would call victory lap after victory lap. And it really is kind of sad in a lot of ways, because it comes along, Benny Johnson has been doing this too, where it comes across as this very desperate need for approval from a wider cultural context, where they're so self-assured that, oh, we've won and everything's going to change. But then the second there's like a black person at the Super Bowl, they fucking melt down. He had like a 10-tweet meltdown about Kendrick at the Super Bowl, by the way, where he just like, well, this is obviously some of the worst music. I wish they would go back to having actual music with real bands, not this crap. It's like fucking so good. So he just hates black people. Oh yeah, always has been. Like that's always been Matt's fucking bag. Isn't his stuff all about protecting girls in sports, and now he's whining about girls in sports? No. You see, you've fallen for one of the classic blunders. His stuff isn't about protecting girls in sports. It's about protecting men in sports, protecting men's monopolies over sports. See, this is the same issue that many TERFs have, the same brick wall that many a TERF has run into head first, being like, wait a minute, Matt Walsh isn't on our side about everything. It's like, no, he fucking hates women. He doesn't think women should play any sports. Bubba Gubba, why isn't it Motley Crue? No, see, I don't even know what Mash Walsh likes. Like, I spent hours and hours researching the store, couldn't tell you what kind of music he listens to. Mike Moran, thank you very much. Mike O'Moran, thank you for $5. Matt Walsh lives in anger that it's not 1950 anymore, 24/7. Yeah, no, he really is, like, from even people who've talked about him. Is there anything Matt Walsh likes? No. All right, yeah, let's go. Oh no, I don't want to pop that out. Let me give you an idea. I haven't watched this video, but I'm assuming
you may have heard.
I am assuming. Maybe it's a bit hasty of me to assume. I am assuming it is going to talk about how this DEI wokeness that is talking about how girls can beat men at sports needs to end, and how obviously it's ridiculous, and this is the kind of feminism. I bet he'll blame feminism for the rise of transgenderism, and talk about DEI and how the woke is going to die or something like this.
At the Super Bowl happened last night, and like any red-blooded American, I enjoyed watching the Kansas City Chiefs suffer one of the worst humiliations that we've seen in professional sports this century, probably. But frankly, I would have preferred that the humiliation was a bit more entertaining to watch. Instead, we were treated to an incredibly dull, uninteresting game to go along with some pretty bland and uninspired commentary from Tom Brady, and perhaps the worst halftime show the NFL has ever subjected us to.
There you go.
The halftime show was so bad that it was almost baffling. And in case you made the wise decision to take a bath.
Now, I talked about this a bit in my Matt Walsh video, but you'll notice his cultural critiques, because you see Matt has no wider frame of reference. He has no actual study or want to study or understand cultural art, knowledge, any of that shit. So a lot of his cultural critiques come down to the most flat, banal, boring examinations possible, where he will simply just say something is uninteresting, or it's boring, or it's not exciting, without giving any further or deeper examination into why that is, why the piece of art doesn't speak to him personally. And it's because he doesn't actually think about it at all. Matt sees all art in two camps. One either affirms his worldview, or one doesn't. And so Kendrick Lamar doesn't. And that's as simple as it is. That's he just goes, oh, well, this is obviously boring, and one of the most boring halftime shows in the history of the NFL. Just something to keep in mind as we go forward and hear his critiques.
Through a break during the halftime show, here's what it sounded like.
I noticed he didn't pick any of the other parts that were a little more bumping. Interesting choice. He instead picked somebody who's still a linguist far beyond Matt's years or experience, knowledge, intelligence. Still somebody who's a far more illustrious, provocative, interesting, entertaining performer than Matt could ever hope in all of his wild dreams of shitty wigs. And here he sits with his shittily coiffed widow's peak.
So, that's the rapper Kendrick Lamar, and he performing a song there that 95% of the audience, myself included, had never heard before. And we still have not heard it because nobody could understand a word the guy was saying as he wandered around the stage for 14 minutes, lethargically mumbling the words to a bunch of songs nobody knows.
A bunch of songs nobody knows. Kendrick actually just beat the Spotify record for most streamed in a month, by the way. Not Like Us just won a Grammy. Like, Kendrick has, what, like 30 fucking Grammys? To say, all right, here is how big Not Like Us is. When I was in LA, I went and I got mimosas with Jesse Gender and some other folks who were part of the cast and crew of Identities. In this tiny little like breakfast cafe in LA, a white ass establishment if ever one there was. Like a place where one would go get mimosas on a Tuesday for brunch. They were bumping Not Like Us, uncensored, on a Tuesday morning. Like, the penetration of that song cannot be fucking understated because you never know when it's going to pop up. You never know when you're going to hear it next. The idea that or Squabble Up are not hit bangers, whatever you think of them musically, if you think they're bad, you're wrong. But whatever you think of them musically, put that aside. The idea of simply denying the impact, the penetration of a song into the cultural consciousness speaks to such a incredible lack of connection to a wider culture, which should be literally no surprise for somebody like Matt Walsh.
His performance wasn't really offensive or objectionable. It was just plain old bad. In fact, I'm not even sure you can call it a performance. I'm not even sure if those were songs. He could have been reciting the first 10 pages of the dictionary or giving us his favorite jumbo or a gumbo recipe for all we know. He was completely unintelligible the entire time. And his abysmal pseudo-performance brings me back to a radical suggestion I've made before, which is that maybe the NFL should consider a halftime show where a band...
No, see? No, yeah, we need actual music. Blah, blah, blah. Z, thank you for 7 months that we're playing it in my gym, climbing gym. It's a banger. It goes, like, every time I'm like, man, it's Not Like Us actually a banger. But then you play that... Like, fucking... It comes in so hard. Ugh.
Plays music. And I may now be speaking over the heads of younger people in the audience, but because you see here, a band is a group of people
God, he's such
who
a
play
fucking
these things
boomer.
called instruments, which produce something called music. And then usually there will be one person who sings. And almost all popular music used to be made by...
Almost all popular music used to be made by bands. There have been solo artists who didn't play instruments since the 60s. There have been vocalist-led groups since the 60s. Not everybody in a band needs to play an instrument, Matt. Like, I feel like his brain would explode if he listened to, like, fucking Health or Nine Inch Nails. Yeah, he sounds like such a fucking Redditor.
bands, believe it or not. Now almost none of it is.
Now,
but it may be time to return.
Again, it speaks to a deficit of cultural understanding or knowledge, and more importantly, curiosity. I think that's really the essence of Matt's problem here, is a lack of curiosity about any other kind of media. Because let me tell you, as somebody who listens to a lot of fucking music, of a lot of different bands and a lot of different genres, there's a lot of shit that is still made with motherfucking instruments. Most music is made with motherfucking instruments. Doesn't matter if it's metal, doesn't matter if it's hard rock, doesn't matter if it's jazz or R&B. Motherfuckers still have instruments. What the fuck are you talking about?
Turn to this ancient concept, at least for the Super Bowl halftime show. That's my pitch.
You
In any
pitch your
case,
dog
even
shit,
amid
bro.
the drudgery of the product that was put on screen last night, there was almost one bright spot last night. Because for the first 8 hours of the game, or what felt like 8 hours, the commercials were, if not necessarily good, at least not overtly woke. By recent standards, they were basically unobjectionable. Now, I would not say the ads were anti-woke by any means.
I'm sorry. They were basically unobjectionable by recent standards. Bro is really just crying over commercials being woke. Redo, thank you for $4.99. Say, Matt, I hear you like him young, but I never go to cell block 1.
But they weren't trying to force feed us wokeness at gunpoint. So that was an improvement. But even this meager bright spot was soon sullied just a bit. The non-woke vibes were ruined by two ads in particular. They both had the same theme. They were both attempting to kind of resurrect the 2019 era girl power nonsense.
What?
These were ads that would have made...
What? All right, I'm gonna let him talk. But 2019 era girl power. Do you think that's when girl power shit started? Resurrect? Oh man.
Made more sense and felt more at home back in the time when Hollywood was trying to convince us that Brie Larson was the next great superhero. Those days are basically over, but you wouldn't know it from these ads. The first one comes courtesy of
Brie Larson, famously not a major bankable star. God. No, straight up, like he has like Reddit brain. He really does. That's fucking crazy.
Of the NFL. Here it is.
Let's settle this once and for all. Your best guy?
Girl.
Whatever. Versus our best guy. The Brad.
Now, he's not really he hasn't prefaced this with I didn't think there was a single fucking good commercial, if I'm being honest. Too much. Also, a weird amount. Can we talk about for a second? Pause the Matt Walsh hate. Can we talk about the bizarre amount of body horror? The Cronenbergian monstrosity that was the Flesh Hat Tubi commercial? Like, y'all have seen it, right? The fucking seal? Like, have y'all not seen this commercial?
Oh, it's a boy. And it looks like he's gonna like Westerns. But what if Westerns aren't hot when he grows up?
Psst. Nobody watches Westerns, dork. Good thing we were born to like fantasy. It's the hit genre to binge.
Mr. Memo, tumble dweeb. Pop culture likes pirates now.
Hey, the zeitgeist always shifts.
It's all about gangster films now.
Yo, vampires, baby!
This is not even one of the worst. There's this Tusk-ass Super Bowl commercial.
Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Refreshing.
It's kissed by the perfect amount of tropical lime.
All right. Also, there's the, was it Doritos? There were two separate commercials with sentient body hair. There was a commercial where Eugene Levy's eyebrows flew off, and there was a commercial where a mustache flew off. There is something deeply dark, I think, that speaks to the cultural moment with these bizarre body horror concepts that have wound their way thoroughly into advertising. I don't know what it is, but fuck, man, it was noticeable and it hit hard in the Super Bowl. Do you remember a couple years ago? Excuse me. There were a spate of commercials for Super Bowl that were like really fucking gross. Like there was the one with like the nerdy guy like making out with the hot model. And there were like a couple other ones at that Super Bowl that were just like fucking gross. What are we doing? I think that was like a year or two before Me Too as a movement happened. If I remember correctly. I think there is something to be said for like I think it portends some kind of shift. I don't know what it is, but the amount of body horror feels like reading some tea leaves, if I'm being honest.
Oh, not the brand. I'm Brad.
It was a GoDaddy commercial. It was a GoDaddy commercial.
There you go. You got folded up, Brad. Get her. Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
See, and that's actually a pretty good. The commercial's a little, but like I get the idea. I get. JFO, yeah, shortly before Me Too. DD is right about that. Thank you. How can people be offended by this? You see, it's because a woman cannot play against men, obviously. A woman wouldn't be a good running back. A woman wouldn't be fast enough or lithe enough or quick enough to dodge all these big burly men. Obviously. Women can't run.
So the ad beseeches us to join the movement to make girls flag football into a varsity sport. And you would think that if the NFL wanted to promote girls flag football, they would show us something that reflects the reality of girls flag football. At a minimum, you'd think that it would be something that exists in the same universe as girls flag football. Instead, we get this fantasy sequence that begins with a man challenging a girl to a game of...
Yeah, it's... does he not understand? Does he not understand the concept of like fictionalizing an advertisement? What? I wonder if he makes a trans woman in sports joke.
I guess, one-on-one football. Now, of course, I have no idea what one-on-one football is or how to play it. If somebody challenged me to go up against them in a one-on-one football contest, I wouldn't even know exactly what they wanted me to do. But in this case, it meant, I guess, that the girl would run with the ball towards the end zone and the guy would try to tackle her or grab the flags in this case. The guy apparently did not get a chance to carry the ball himself, so this is a sudden death football showdown where only one side gets to play offense. Not exactly a fair contest. Did you know that over 85% of grass-fed beef in stores is imported?
Shut up.
Since 2015's repeal of country and of origin labeling,
God,
meat
it's like a whole...
seem like I'm taking the ad a bit too literally, and I am. You might say that the commercial is supposed to be a joke, but yes, but this part of it is not the joke. We are not meant to laugh at the concept of a girl playing against men in football. That's not supposed to be funny. The NFL wants us to take that idea very seriously. The joke in the ad is not that a woman would never in a million years perform that well against men on a football field. That was not the intended joke or point anyway. The point is supposed to be that men are overconfident morons and women are amazing and perfect and can do anything that men can do.
See, that's it. Somebody asking what could he hate about this ad. That's what it is. It is his own insecurities that he is reading into on his own. Like, there is no point in that video, in that, not trailer, ad. There's no point in that advertisement where it is ever said that, oh, men are all dumb and women are all perfect and can do everything better at all. But that is his own insecurity that he reads into the things he disagrees with, the things that don't fit his ideological framework, which include women being worse at everything and men being superior. Oh, man. Oxpecker, thank you for $5. Can't believe Jeremy Johns gave I Am Racist a good time, no alcohol required. Was there ever any fallout to that? No. Not that I recall. Not surprising, though. Jeremy's been kind of a dick for a while.
Only better. Like I said, this ad is not based in our universe. It would have been more realistic and plausible if she sprouted wings and flew across the field. That was just one of the girl power ads. The other was even worse and came to us from Nike. Apparently, and I was surprised by this, Nike has not had a Super Bowl ad.
$1. Thank you from Miera Nieras. This feels like minstrelsy low-key. How do you mean? I don't quite get what you're saying.
Since 1988. So this is their long-awaited Super Bowl comeback is here, and this is what they chose for it.
You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless.
Oh, I know why this one pissed him off. See, this one pissed him off because it is spitting all of the shit right back at people like him. This ad, I get what they're saying with this ad being like a little bit too. This one is more like 2014 feminism. Like this one is a very much like just But then I see how it makes people like Matt mad. And you know what? I'm okay with it again. I'm good with it. Go on. Go off.
Relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident. So be confident. You can't challenge. So challenge. You can't dominate. So dominate. You can't flex. So flex. You can't fill a stadium. So fill that stadium. You can't be emotional. So be emotional. You can't take credit. You can't speak up. You can't be so ambitious. You can't break records. You can't have any fun. You can't make demands. You can't keep score. You can't stand out. Whatever you do, you can't win.
Also, another thing I know pisses him off is that there's so many black women in here. I know it. Soggy Turkey, thank you for $5. I bet Matt Walsh sweats pure liquid transphobia, misogyny, and cringe. You could probably bottle the pure divorced energy. Yet somehow still married. I don't understand it.
So when?
About the seal thing specifically. Okay, all right, that was a couple minutes ago. I guess it's weird. The seal thing, like, I didn't show the end of that video, but seal is actually the non-animalized version is actually in the he has like 4-5 kids or something. Seal is actually in the advertisement in his regular human form, which I think makes it a little bit less. But I do kind of get what you're saying. Like the optics are not the optics are not amazing anyway you slice it, really. Oh yeah, that's gonna piss him off so
Now,
much.
I have seen some cope from some conservatives who claim that this ad is a cultural
Cope.
win because Nike is celebrating women's sports in an ad that features only women. So
Cope, crispy fried. Thank you. Ooh, fried chicken. Oh, fried chicken sounds all right to me. Thank you for resubscribing for 14 months. Hello. Oh, whoa. Yeah, that's cope. Him using the word cope just like sets off every like ick detector in my system. That's fucking crazy.
the fact that no.
Oh yeah, Yenzo, we
trans-identified
talked about
male
AI
appears in
and
the ad
Frank.
is supposed to be a sign.
I'll be doing a stream highlight video of AI and Frank. So, if you missed it, just stay tuned to the channel.
That Nike is turning towards the right or something, but that's not the case. Nike still supports putting men in women's sports, which makes this ad a sign of hypocrisy, not progress. The point of the ad is supposed to be that female athletes are the victims of sexism. That's what the ad is saying. You can't be demanding, you can't be confident, etc. These are all things that women supposedly hear from our supposedly patriarchal society. The whole ad is one.
Supposedly. Now, Matt, I'm sure you will not proceed to say anything resembling the things being said here.
Long feminist trope that we've seen a million times before. This is not Nike bravely standing up against left-wing gender ideology. It's Nike pandering with a bunch of incredibly overused and ridiculous feminist cliches. Back in reality, again, nobody is telling women that they can't be confident or ambitious or whatever. Nobody's telling women that they can't win in women's sports. Of course, women can win in women's sports. Somebody has to win, and it's going to be a woman. Unless men are competing, in which case it's going to be a man. But the richest irony, I think, is that Caitlin Clark is in this commercial. Clark has actually been doubted, criticized, mocked, belittled, hated on. That's true in her case. Except men are not the ones doing that. In fact, most male sports fans like Caitlin Clark. They kind of admire the fact that she's managed to single-handedly make women's professional basketball culturally relevant, sort of. All of the hate towards Caitlin Clark, literally all of it, is coming from other women, most of whom are playing the same sport. Her haters are the other women in her league. And this is very often the case. Yeah, I'm far from the first person.
It's women's fault, actually. Women hold themselves back. But also, women can't do what men can do, and they cannot be competitive like they can. Don't believe that fantasy idea that spread to you from the other commercial. But also, men aren't saying that. It's women who are doing it to themselves. Stop hitting yourself, I say.
Person to point this out. But when feminists tell us that women are critiqued and condemned and judged, it doesn't take much digging to find out that it's almost always other women doing the critiquing, condemning, and judging. This goes for everything. I mean, everything from so-called beauty standards, which are mostly set by women and imposed on themselves.
That's fucking crazy of him to say, dude. Beauty standards are imposed by women on themselves. Wow.
For the sake of impressing.
All right. I think I'm good on Matt for a bit. I was gonna go check out the other one, but I think I'm good on Matt for a little bit. Yeah, it is quite literally the opposite. That's fucking crazy, bro. Riverboat Jack is watching the thing I just watched. Actual Jake. Ooh, what's Actual Jake watching? Ooh. Oh, that's me. That's Dead Domain. Oh, we could go watch Cirrus. If y'all want, I need to... yeah, I think I need to rest my voice. I don't want to try it too terribly much more. Because I do feel the cough coming back a little bit, and I want to not have that cough come back. That would be super rad. So, oh, God damn it. It won't let me raid. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I guess I just won't be able to raid then. Thank y'all very much for joining. Go check out, I know Riverboat Jack and Necosaurus are currently live. So go give them a like, follow. Be sure to subscribe, send donos and stuff. I appreciate it so, so much, especially because I was unable to basically work at all last week. So I am playing a lot of catch up, been doing a lot of writing. I actually feel pretty good about the writing I've been doing on a lot of the projects I'm working on. I have some fun. I have some interesting, good work I've been doing on a couple more video essays. So if you like my pseudo-political content that isn't just incredibly deep dive stuff. And other than that, this I'm going to try to... maybe Friday, I think I'll try and stream again. And yeah, I hope to see y'all there. And then Sunday, we'll be doing another Sunday Fun Day stream. Warm tea may help your throat. I should find my teapot. I have to dig it out again because it's all packed up. JFO, please rest your voice. These lingering coughs everyone has right now are no joke. Yeah, it's been real. But yeah, thank you all very much, and I hope